Hello everyone. You're very welcome along on this latest audio walk from open country with me, Tom. Despite a road on my left hand side and the hum of a distant aircraft, you currently find me revelling in the peace and tranquility of this spectacular location. The sun's just peeping out from the edges of the clouds that are hanging above me and reflecting across a pond which I'm currently stood on a pontoon overlooking. The water is absolutely still, which is showing off the reflections of the many tufts of grass that surround it, and also the beautiful silver birch trees that surround me. It really is a pocket of heaven. So our walk today is around the iconic site of Brimham Rocks in North Yorkshire. Along the way, we'll hopefully find more heavenly pockets like we're in at the moment, and also we'll hopefully find some weird and wonderful dramatic rock formations that this area is synonymous and famous for. It's a chilly one, so I advise you to wrap up warm as once again we put our best foot forward and explore the beautiful countryside of Yorkshire. One of the great things about Brimham Rocks is its position on top of a hill overlooking Nidderdale. Every so often you get these wonderful vistas which draw your eye down the valley. I've currently found one which is looking out towards Pateley Bridge and Heathfield Moor beyond that. And beyond that still I can see the top ridge of Great Whernside in the Yorkshire Dales, which is dotted with patches of snow, which shows you how chilly it is on this wintry day that I'm recording this audio walk. On the left-hand side of the valley I can make out the trees of Guyscliffe Wood, which hug that side of the valley, and atop the hill above Guyscliffe Wood there's a folly which overlooks the valley from the other side. As a look further into the valley itself, we can see the dotted houses and barns of the villages of Lowlaith, Wilsall, and also glass houses, which is just tucked out of view. Around that sort of area, there's a plume of smoke emanating from the trees where somebody's obviously burning something as it ekes its way up to meet the clouds in an otherwise bluish sky. I've just deviated from the main path ever so slightly, mainly because I got my first glimpse of the dramatic rocks that give this area its name. They stand in various positions, almost like they look like they've been balanced by giants on top of one another. I'm sure we'll see some even more quirky formations as we wander round, but the one in front of me is like a pile of huge boulders slightly on its side, tilting towards the left. And on top there's just this one flatter rock that just looks like it's been elegantly placed there. It really is amazing. On the right hand side there's actually a silver birch tree that looks like it's growing out of the rock. It really is very quirky indeed. When you see the rocks from a distance on a winter's day like today, it looks like there's almost snow on them. But when you get closer, you realise that it's patches of lichen. This beautifully chalky white growth that is encrusting the rocks. It's always a sign, I'm told, of clean air, which is nice to know that I'm breathing today. Anyway, after this slight deviation, I suppose we ought to make our way back to the track and carry on. My plan is to walk underneath the rocks and then come back through the main body of Brimham Rocks itself, where the majority of the dramatic formations are. And hopefully we'll get a few more of those spectacular views as we go along as well. The track that we were walking along has now ended, and we are meandering our way through the bracken on this grassy, spongy path. The landscape's also opened up a bit. We were walking through quite dense woodland originally, but now we're back to those wide open vistas across Nidderdale. We've also just walked past a farm which had this beautiful smell of fermenting silage emanating from it, as well as old tractors. It is one of my favourite countryside smells, I must admit. We're following a wall which forms the boundary of Brimham Rocks and the farmland beyond, and it's beautifully vibrant green as the moss and the lichen take over. It's obviously been there for quite a while. The rocks, the coping stones on the top are crumbling away, and nature's definitely taken hold. If I spin round in a 360-degree turn, everywhere I look, just bathed in this soft winter light, is radiant in colour. It might not be the colour that you would expect from a vibrant summer landscape, but we've got the rusty oranges of the bracken, the greens that I've mentioned of the moss. I also think when you look at silver birch trees in the winter, the branches that come away from that beautiful silvery trunk almost look purpley in hue, which gives a unique look to a woodland landscape made up of silver birch trees. So despite it being wintry, there's no end to the vibrancy that jumps out at you when you look at the landscape closely. We've started to climb now, so apologies if I sound a little breathless as we make our way back into the main body of Brimham Rocks. And once again the path's changed from that wide open path along the wall through long grasses and bracken flanked by farmland. We're now once again flanked by trees, a mixture of hawthorn and silver birch. At the moment, silver birch tends to be the main tree here at Brimham Rocks. Anyway, that path around the corner there is looking very inviting, and also the rocks looming in amongst the bracken and the trees, just tantalising us with those obscured views, drawing me forward along the path. So let's carry on and see what else this magnificent landscape has to offer. I've just been reminded again how you can often take a landscape for granted if you don't really contemplate and study it and take it all in. And I certainly do that when I record these audio walks. I've been coming here to Brimham Rocks all of my life, and the one thing that struck me today that's never really struck me before is the contrast between the landscapes here. We've got the dense woodland, we've got the farmland, and now we've made it our way up onto the plateau at the top of Brimham Rocks, at the top of the hill, and it is a sea of moorland. I know that Open Country have done some conservation work here in the past and continue to do so, where they cut back the birch saplings to preserve the peat bog underneath, which maintains far much more carbon than a woodland of birch trees would do, helping to prolong the life of our environment. Looks quite a task though, because as I look out across the moorland, there are quite a few birch saplings dotting that heather moorland landscape, which from my perspective here stretches as far as the eye can see. Anyway, there's not far to go now until we reach the trig point at the very top of the hill here at Brimham Rocks, where you can find the best views, maybe even in North Yorkshire. It is quite spectacular once you get up to the top, so let's head up there now. Here we are, we've made it. The trig point here at Brimham Rocks, which marks the highest point. And wow, what a view you get from here. Having said that, the view that we had earlier on is obscured by the trees, but it's made up for by the 180-degree view in front of me. I'm stood right next to the trig point, which sits behind the old visitor centre here at Brimham Rocks. And all around, your uninterrupted views of North Yorkshire and West Yorkshire beyond that as well. In fact, I can also see Lancashire. I can see the top of Pendle Hill, which is all shrouded in cloud at the moment. Directly in front of me, I can make out the golf balls, as they are locally known, at Menwith Hill, the RAF base. And beyond that, the ridge of Norrid Edge, which it isn't an audio walk if I don't mention a view of that at some point, with the telltale telecommunications mast on top. Then I can see the skyline of Harrogate, which is the nearest main town here to Brimham Rocks. And beyond that, it just tends to get a bit hazy, but you can make out the hazy horizon line, which will be the ridge of West Yorkshire tailing off into the distance. On a clear day, I'm told that you can see York Minster from here. It really is an uninterrupted, spectacular view. And then, as I look closer to me, you've also got all of the spectacular rock formations that are just laid out on the hill in front of me, which in a moment we'll go and take a closer look at. But I just want to stand and soak up this view for a bit longer. If you don't mind, I'll speak to you in a moment. We're now at the heart of Brimham Rocks, and if my voice sounds a bit echoey here, it's because I'm surrounded by these magnificent formations. On each of them there are striations that have been made by the weather over the centuries and millennia, I suppose, as the land has been carved out to form what can only be described as a very alien landscape. The differences in tones and textures and colours on the rocks is quite amazing, and twin that with the dramatic, towering nature of them, it really does take your breath away. I could spend hours just going in and out of all of the little nooks and crannies that almost form little caves in between the rocks. It really is a fascinating place to explore. It is very popular, obviously, with climbers as well, whether they're training for various different big climbs or whether they just want to say that they've conquered one of the quirky rock formations here at Brimham. The other thing that makes it eerie are the trees that just appear to be growing out of the rock. There's one above me right now where there's a pair of jackdaws just sat admiring the view. To be honest, they're probably oblivious to what I'm speaking about, but it is a perfect spot for them. Oh, there they go. Maybe my voice scared them off as they go to join their friends. I've noticed quite a few jackdaws around Brimham today. Obviously a popular roosting site for them. Other rock formations, going back to those, do have unique names, and they're named after what they look like. So at one side we've got the turtle, and then in the middle we've got the eagle and the anvil, and then overlooking Nidderdale on the opposite side is the watchdog. Anyway, I suppose we ought to explore a bit more and see if we can find some other quirky formations, of which there are certainly plenty here. Brimham Rocks can get quite busy at times, so you do have to plan when you come to visit, or else you'll be faced with people trying to climb the rocks and obscuring the view and obscuring the silence as well, and the tranquility that we've been lucky enough to appreciate today. During the summer holidays especially is when Brimham Rocks does have a bit of a reputation for an outdoor playground. But on a day like today, when it is so peaceful, despite a school party wandering round, it really adds to the atmosphere of this place. And as I wander back down through the rocks, every single corner that I turn, I'm faced with more drama, more mood, and more awesome views. So it is very much well worth a visit. As I say, just plan when you come if you want to come here when it's nice and peaceful like it is today. The other great thing about Brimham Rocks is that the main paths around the main rocks themselves, so the ones that are named anyway, is very accessible. It's made from tarmac, so if you are in a wheelchair then it's perfect for wheeling round. If you would like some more information on this site, then you can find it in our Break Free pack as well on the Open Country website, which I'll give you the details to at the end of this audio walk. Anyway, I suppose I will remove myself from my latest cave that I've found myself in and make my way back to the car park where I started, and maybe round this walk off back on the pontoon overlooking the pond, which I think would be very fitting after such a beautiful outing today. Well, here we are. We've made it back to the pontoon overlooking the pond from which we started the audio walk. And it is still as tranquil as it was when we left. It does seem like we've experienced quite a bit since we left this point. From the dramatic views over Nidderdale to the farmland pastures to the silver birch woodland, and then to the rocks, the mighty rocks themselves at the heart of the Brimham Rocks site. It really is a wonderful place to explore, and I'm sure, given the opportunity, I would spend a lot longer here, meandering my way round. But time and tide waits for no man, as they say, and I have to get back to edit this audio walk so you can listen to it in all of its glory. So as the ducks swim away from me in the pond in the distance, I would like to say thank you very much for listening once again to this audio walk today. If you would like to listen to more of Open Country's audio walks, then check out opencountry.org.uk, where you can also download our break-free packs, of which Brimham Rocks is featured. So if you would like to come here and access it in the best way possible, then feel free to download that from our website. You can also donate to Open Country on there as well. We're always happy to receive donations to keep us helping people with disabilities to access and enjoy the countryside. Until next time, thank you again for listening, and goodbye for now.